Okay, everyone. Some big news and big breaking news updates on Bill C-10, the Liberals' censorship bill that you guys have all been following, and we have been trying really hard to fight and stop. Now, many of you have been following this and the efforts by the Conservatives to stop the passage of this bill. As you know, the Liberals ganged up with the Bloc and the NDP in order to ram it through the House of Commons on Monday, or it was actually really early on Tuesday morning, 1:30 in the morning, and now it is in the Senate. And I've joined today. I wanted to bring to you one of Canada's champions, true champions in the Senate, Senator Leo Housakos, who is a senator from the Montreal area, and he's leading the charge to stop this terrible bill in the Senate. And I know a lot of you had been asking, like, well, did it pass? Like, what's going on? This is your chance to hear from somebody who's like literally just stepped away from a massive debate, a massive fight on it, to give you a quick update on what's going on. So Leo, thank you for so much for joining us here, Senator. Thank you for all your hard work. And for people who are on today, if you're not following Leo's social media, you should. He's a really strong voice in the Senate and does a lot of good work on issues like this. So Leo, can you explain the process and what's happening so that people understand what's going on and what's coming next on this terrible bill?
Well, thank you for having me on, Michelle. It's indeed a pleasure and an honor. And I got to say to everybody watching, the greatest honor for me is serving as a Conservative senator with our National Caucus, but also watching on a daily basis Michelle Rempel represent Alberta, Canada, Conservative interests. She's a champion in so many ways. And you are honored to have her in the riding of Calgary-Nose Hill. You're honored to have her as your MP, and we're honored to have her in our shadow cabinet as our health minister. So, first and foremost, I want to give all the credit to the Conservative House of Commons caucus for putting up a gargantuan fight against this draconian bill, C-10. If it wasn't for the fantastic work of our House members in delaying the bill, despite the fact that the government has used every tool in its parliamentary discretion to do what is really so egregious. But they've also, as you know, Michelle, they've utilized elements of parliament in ways that are illegal, against the rules. Yes. And it required, of course, points of orders, and it required the Speaker of the House of Commons to call the government to order and to call the misbehavior of what I call, in regards to C-10, it's become a three-headed monster. The Liberals, the NDP, and the Bloc have come together to put in place a bill that essentially will give all the power to a group of bureaucrats in the CRTC to determine what you and every Canadian and I can watch, can post, can articulate on platforms that have become part and parcel of our Canadian way of life. And young Canadians particularly will appreciate this, that your TikTok, your Snapchat, your Twitter, your Facebooks, the CRTC will have the power to determine what is acceptable to post or not to post. So, with the work of our party and our caucus in the House of Commons, we're drawing and garnering attention. As usual, the incompetent Liberal government, because of their poor planning, have brought now this bill to the Senate, literally 15 minutes before Parliament is supposed to rise this summer. And typical of Mr. Trudeau, they're saying to senators, rubber stamp it, pass it through, no oversight, no proper study. We say it's good, so what we say goes. And they expect us just to rubber stamp it and pass it on. And of course, there's momentum now building in the Senate. I've made it clear to the government leader, our caucus has, the small Conservative caucus that we have in the Senate, that we're not going to rubber stamp this. We're going to give it the due diligence. And of course, we're conscious, and I'm particularly conscious that the Senate has limitations, Michelle. As we know, the elected House has the right to govern and the right to drive the agenda. But one role the Senate does have, as sober second thought, is when a bill as egregious and as outrageous as this comes to the Senate, we have the right to really ask serious questions, to put a hold on it on behalf of the interest of Canadians, and also do our part in holding this government to account.
What does that look like? What is, for people who might not understand how the Senate works, like, I think people watching right now are going to say, well, can you stop it, Leo? What can you do to stop it? So, like, what is the Senate doing right now to try and prevent this from passing and having that sober second thought happen so that this bill doesn't pass?
Well, first and foremost, as we're not going to accept the orders from the Trudeau government to rubber stamp it and pass it, we also don't have, we feel, even though we do constitutionally the mandate to defeat it tomorrow morning, we're certainly not going to, take those extreme measures. What we are planning to do, and there seems to be consensus growing, is pass this down to committee. In the fall, when the Senate comes back, committee will start deliberating and give an opportunity to all those stakeholders in Canada that were blocked out of the House process from coming before the committee and articulating their point of view. You remember, Michelle, when this bill was tabled, typical of the Liberal government, the overarching objective was just to make sure that there's some equity between these new platforms that have emerged over the last few years in the communication system. And it's morphed into something else, something really dangerous. So we're going to bring in stakeholders. We're going to take 6 months, 9 months, 12 months to make sure that this is studied carefully. And of course, if the rumors are right, that there might be an election sometime this fall or September, August, I guess Justin Trudeau will wake up one morning and determine when he can call an election. Then, of course, this bill will die on the order paper. And for the sake of freedom of speech and for the sake of the future of this country, God willing, that's what will happen.
Thank you so much, Leo, and thank you to the senators who are saying this cannot be rubber stamped. This can't be just rammed through. And I think you guys are really upholding your responsibility in the other chamber to review legislation that will have incredible impacts on Canadians. I know you probably followed this yesterday. Stephen Guilbeault, the Trudeau's sort of left or right-hand man in charge of this file, said that they were tabling legislation today that would be much more controversial and even worse than C-10 to layer on top of it. So I think it's really important that the work that you're doing, and I just want to encourage you on behalf of everybody who's watching here, there are so many Canadians of all political stripe that don't want this to pass and want you to do exactly what you just said, is ensure that the voices of Canadians, like individual content creators who aren't supported by massive, well-paid lobbies and lobbyists, are heard, and that Canada isn't disadvantaged going forward in terms of new types of content creation, but also that our speech isn't censored by this bill and by the government. So what should we be watching for in the next couple of days? So the Senate has a couple of sitting days left, right? Like, how will we be able to tell if what you're doing is working or not?
Well, today the bill will be moved, and there will be a speech delivered by the sponsor of the bill, Senator Dawson. I will be adjourning it. I will be speaking to it next week. The Senate is scheduled to sit on Monday and Tuesday of next week, and I will, as an opposition critic, will give my speech on Monday. I know there's a number of other senators that want to speak to it as well. I know Senator Pamela Wallin as well from Saskatchewan has some deep concerns about this bill. And best case scenario for the government is we'll acquiesce in accepting to send this to the committee, but no further than that. We're not going to speed it through. We're not going to have the committee meet in a highway type of style in order to accommodate the agenda of the government. So I think we will rise at some point next week. The bill will end up at committee. And of course, committees in the Senate can only sit while Parliament sits, while Senate is sitting. So they will not be able to address this issue at committee before the end of September, October, whenever that is, and if we come back, depending on a writ dropping or not.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to note, is that Parliament we're scheduled to rise in a few short days. And if the efforts that you're undertaking are successful and Justin Trudeau does trigger an election this summer, as so many people are speculating about is likely to happen, then this bill would die. So I think there's a lot of Canadians, who really want you to succeed, Senator, and want you to succeed and want to tell you thank you for this fight. And when you're talking to your Senate colleagues, I think that there's just a groundswell of people who really appreciate the work of the Senate and not acquiescing to the Liberal government, to Justin Trudeau's ramming through agenda of a bill that's just so bad. So I won't keep you. I will let you get back to work. And again, for those of you who are following, who care about Bill C-10, follow Senator Leo Housakos. He is the critic in the Senate on this bill, and it's his efforts right now. He's leading the charge to stop it. So I'll let you get back to work, Leo. Thank you so much for your hard work. And to anybody watching this, share this video, particularly for people who want more information on how the Conservatives are trying to fight this bill now that it's in the Senate. Working hard for you in Calgary and in Montreal. Have a great day.
Thank you, Michelle.